There is no sense, I said abruptly. Oh my god, I'm gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. Wine break. There's a really big twist in this story that I didn't see coming, and it's so good, and it's very symbolic. I really want to talk to someone about it, so please, please read it. Hi everyone, it's me, Jess. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, welcome. So happy to have you here. And if you're a regular, welcome back. So this is a vlog that I've been promising to do where I read books recommended by my daughter that she read in her final semester of her literature program in college. So I'm really excited. These are the 3 books that I'm going to be reading. The first is Mapping the Interior by Stephen Graham Jones. This is a short novella that tells the story of a young boy who thinks he sees the ghost of his father, and I guess it's about him sort of chasing that ghost and trying to reconcile his identity as an Indigenous boy. So he's Stephen Graham Jones is a Native American he's a Blackfeet author. It's a horror story, but it's a horror story that's used as a vehicle for a discussion of race issues, particularly issues related to being Native American in America. And I already started it. I have to say, I already started it, and I'm already enjoying it very much. I'm not going to say too much about it just yet. I guess just to say that I'm not finding it super creepy, which I thought it would be more creepy. It is more on the side of telling the story of this boy's experience, at least in the first 30 pages, of reconciling the death of his father, who we're not sure. There's a lot of playing with the idea of what is truth and what is storied. And the death of his father is one of the things that we're not entirely sure about, because it does say, but in the year or two after he either drowned or was drowned, there's stories both ways, and they each make sense. So we don't know what happened to his father, and I think it's interesting. I think he's going to play a little bit with this idea of what's the truth and what's storied, as well as identity, and a little bit about the ghost of his father. So it's short, so I'm probably going to finish it really quickly. Maybe not today, but probably early in the vlog. And then my plan was to read Tin Man after that. This, I keep hearing, is very heartbreaking, and it's the story of 2 characters who meet when they're boys and kind of grow up together, and that their friendship turns into more than a friendship. It's more like a love story, I think, but I haven't started it yet, but I probably will get to that one next. And then I'm also going to read Pygmalion by Shaw, which I'm really looking forward to reading. It'll be my first play that I've ever read by Shaw. I've seen a lot of plays performed by Shaw because my dad used to give talks at the Shaw Festival here in Ontario at Niagara-on-the-Lake, and I used to go with him and listen to his workshop talks and see Shaw plays that were being performed at the festival. I don't do that anymore, although I thought that would be a really fun vlog to do someday, but I'm in no position to be going to Niagara-on-the-Lake this summer, maybe another year. But Pygmalion is the famous story of Eliza, taken on by a phoneticist, Henry Higgins, and he believes that he can transform Eliza into an acceptable duchess in polite society. So we all know the story of Pygmalion, and I think it's going to be really fun to read it, and especially fun to look at all of my daughter's annotations, which is really fun to see. I was going to take us to a couple of different university campuses. I thought it might be kind of fun to go to libraries at the different campuses, so I'm going to take you to, I think there are 12 libraries on the McGill campus. I'm not sure if we're going to go to all 12 of them, but I will try to figure out which the most interesting ones are and take you to those. I'm also going to take you to the library at Dawson which is the college where my daughter did her program. I'm very excited. Looking forward to reading these books and chit-chatting with you. Oh, I just got back from New Hampshire and I did buy a couple of books there, so I thought rather than having a big book haul video, I would just talk about the 4 books that I got when I was in New Hampshire. So the first one that I picked up is purely as a result of not understanding why I don't have my copy of this book, A Tale for the Time Being. So it came out in 2013 and I read it then and loved it, and I realized that I didn't have a copy of it. So I picked up my copy so I would have a copy. I contemplated giving this to my daughter. Maybe I still will, but I think I want to reread it because I just remember loving it so much, but I don't really remember the book that well. So I'm considering rereading that. So that's why I picked it up. Definitely wanted to have it in my library. Also picked up A Burning by Megha Majumdar. The reason that I picked this book up is I'd been thinking about reading it. It had been on my radar for a while. And my daughter was saying that she noticed that it's being taught in several of the literature classes. So I thought, oh, that fits. I think it's about it's a Muslim girl who is from the slums, and she's accused of committing a terrorist attack because of a mistaken comment on social media. And then I think she's punished. Anyway, it's like about a catastrophe in contemporary India. And I'm sure it has to do with not just Muslims and Hindus, but also that she's a woman. I'm not sure. But I really want to read it, and I'm going to be pushing it up my TBR. And then I got Tender as a Flesh. I heard Scott talking about this book way back when, and it got me really interested. So I picked it up. I haven't seen it anywhere, so I was really excited when I saw it. I think this is about cannibalism. It's a dystopian world. It says it's a dystopian world in which humans are being processed for food, and society is divided into predators and prey. That sounds crazy. And then I picked up The Only Good Indians, which is I don't know where in the sequence it comes, because I was looking at the front of the book, mapping the interior, because I wanted to see. Actually, Stephen Graham Jones is very prolific. He has a very long list of publications at the front of this book. I had read My Heart is a Chainsaw last year around Halloween, and I just heard so many good things about The Only Good Indians that I picked it up because I was like, well, I think I'm going to want to read this probably around Halloween or maybe this summer, because I like to read some horror books in the summer as well. So this is a tale of revenge called Try Identity and the Cost of Breaking from Tradition, in the latest novel from the Jordan Peele of horror literature, Stephen Graham Jones. Okay. It follows 4 American Indian men after a disturbing event from their youth puts them in a desperate struggle for their lives. I'm sure it's going to be really good. So yeah, that's my little book haul. And welcome to the vlog, everybody.
Hi everyone, it's me. I've got my bicyclette with me, my bike with me, and I'm gonna bike over to McGill Campus. And I did check online, and there are 10 libraries at the McGill's downtown campus. So I don't know how many libraries we're gonna get to see. I'll take you around McGill's campus a little bit. Oh, my phone's ringing. Hold that thought. Haha, that was the phone. My phone was ringing and it wasn't who I was hoping it was. So anyway, so I'm actually on this really pretty street right now called Prince Arthur. And I'll just turn you around so you can see the fountain. That's my view. See, how pretty is that? Yeah, it's really beautiful here, and I'm just, like I said, I'm riding my bike over to McGill Campus, and I brought, what book did I bring with me? I brought maps, upside down, but I brought maps with me, and we'll see how much reading I get done. I could really use a coffee, a little tired, and yeah. And I started Tin Man yesterday, and I love it. It's so well written. But I will update properly when I get back home after our little excursion of where I am in my reading. So yeah, let's go. Hello. So we're here. We're on McGill's campus. Just parked old Trusty. And I have half a mind to go and sit like right over there in the grass. I don't know about the library, guys. I'm thinking about reading in the grass. It's such a beautiful sunny day. Lots of people. Well, I would say not lots of people, but there's quite a few people around. I mean, school's obviously out. There's definitely people walking around the campus. So yeah, let's just walk around the campus together and see what we shall find.
So yeah, it's
okay.
where you see the red letters, it's right over there.
Okay.
That's Redpath Hall, that's Redpath Library.
Okay, and I can go there even though I'm not a student here?
Anyway.
Sit down and read a book?
Of course.
Nice, thank you. Okay, so he was very friendly and he said to go over here to the Redpath Library. So let's go check that one out for now. There was a little art gallery here in the library. Isn't that cool? Unexpected. Yeah, that's totally unexpected. I'm so glad we are exploring together. Look at the things you can find when you just decide to go out on a little adventure, right? And look, there's some seats. You could just sit there. I might just sit there and read for a little bit, actually. Nice and cool in here, and the atmosphere is amazing. All the art on the walls. So yeah, I think I might just take a load off and read my book for a little while. Okay, so library adventures with Jess. I just stopped a couple of nice looking students and I asked them where the Islamic library is, and they told me, so that's where we're going. They also told me to go to the Burke's library, but I have a bad feeling that the Burke's library might already be closed today. So we might have to save the Burke's library for another day. can't give you a full update on mapping the interior right now, but I will read you a little quote. It's just a quote about Indians. He writes, "Indians, we don't have guardian angels. If we did, they'd have been whispering to us pretty hard when some certain ships bobbed up on the horizon. But we do have helpers. I think usually it's supposed to be an animal. Maybe when you need more, though, maybe then you get a person." Oh my gosh, you guys, something major happened in the story. I'm gonna have to stop reading now and update you. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So yeah, this is the Islamic library, and it is just as cute and nice as I was told. And I'm so happy I found it. Moral of the story, ask directions. Or just ask someone. The students I spoke to also said that they thought the Burke's Library was a really nice library, but I'm pretty sure it's closed already today because we're coming up on to 4:30 in the afternoon. So I'm going to head home on my bike, and then I'm going to update you on my reading. Something very dramatic just happened in my book, but I'm not going to tell you. I'll tell you when I get back to the house. And yes, maybe we'll come back another day to check out the Burke's Library and then check out the Dawson Campus Library, which is close to here, or at least not too far away. And since I'm on my bike, it's pretty easy for me to get around the city. But that was so much fun. I thought it was going to be a flop, and it ended up being super cool. It's always awesome when that happens. So yeah, let's go home.
Hello! I am back from my little adventure, and I just wanted to update you on my reading so far. It's possible that Noah might make a bunch of noise because he's a bit excited that I'm home. Very happy to see me. Let me zoom you guys out a little. Oh, my bookshelf is a mess because I'm reorganizing it. Sorry about that. So I'm going to talk first about Mapping the Interior, which is a novella that I've already introduced you to, and I'm at page 70 of the book. So I'm really quite far into the book. And so far we've met Junior, and Junior has, the novella opens with Junior believing to have seen his father's figure walking from the kitchen doorway to the hall that led back to the utility room at 2:49 in the morning. And then from there, we come to learn more about Junior and his mom and his younger brother, Dino or Dino, I'm not sure how it would be pronounced. Junior is having these apparitions of his dad, and he is 12 years old, but he's in a situation where his father has died and he has a lot of responsibilities within his household, in particular because his younger brother, Dino, has, I guess, epilepsy, and he has seizures. He feels a sense of responsibility for taking care of him, and also his little brother is being bullied by other school kids. They're also living in kind of precarious circumstances and poverty, and his mom, there's references to his mom having to work more shifts, or back when she had to work less shifts. So we know that she's got his work. The mom is a working mom. Not the easiest, they're not the easiest conditions. So it follows this narrative about this young boy trying to connect with his dad, because he thinks that if he can connect with his dad, then his dad will help Dino with his seizures and generally make him stronger and make him more able to handle the circumstances of his life and the things that are happening around him. Pretty good so far. There is a lot of, I think that the way to describe this author's style of writing would be slipstream. It's kind of like, I think it's an indigenous style that is maybe a little bit magical realism, but it's more surreal. There's this idea that he sleepwalks and that he sees his dad in the middle of the night, so we don't know if he's imagining his dad or if the ghost of his dad is really there. Obviously, Junior believes that it is actually the spirit of his dad, and I don't know what's going to happen. We've had one encounter that was a violent encounter for Junior during one of these sleepwalking episodes with the neighbor's dogs. The police show up. Other than that, the big thing that happened while I was at the Islamic library that I was like, oh, something really big happened in my book, is that Junior just found a gun. So I think things are going to get a little bit more intense in the last 30 pages of the book. So far, it's really, really good. I'm not really sure if I'd say so much that it's like a traditional horror book, but it does have to do with the idea of spirits. And there's definitely commentary about the Native American experience. The most interesting commentary I'm finding so far is this idea of his dad being kind of bigger than life now that he's died. Obviously in Junior's mind, but also just in the minds of people it's purported in the book, like the idea that a dead Indian, the idea of an Indian as a dead Indian is a bigger idea, like the commercial Indian. So I'll just read this little section to demonstrate that. He writes, "That's how you talk about dead people though, especially dead Indians." His dad, they have the tradition of dancing in the Blackfoot culture. I think this is Blackfoot. And he talks about how his dad wasn't a dancer. He didn't wear a headdress and he wasn't a dancer. Now, after he's died, there's this idea that of what he could have been, and that's how we talk about people after they've died, is what they could have been. So he writes, "That's how you talk about dead people though, especially dead Indians. It's all about squandered potential, not actual accomplishments. My father, my dad, he could have been the best fancy dancer of us all. And that's how I recognized him that first night crossing from the living room through the kitchen. His boots, his bustle, his fancy dancer outline, in death, he had become what he never could in life." And I just thought that was very poignant. And I thought it was interesting, and it's an interesting commentary about the characterization of Native American culture. And I think that's all I have to say about it for just this moment. I'm enjoying it. It's very good. I also started reading Tin Man, which is just so good. Everyone says it's really good, and it is so good. So good. And what's really hilarious to me is seeing my daughter's little notes in the margins. It's so funny to read. I'll read you one in just a minute. But let's just start with the story. So the story is about Ellis and a man named Michael and his wife Annie, and a little bit about his mom Dora. And it's about a painting, in part, that Dora purchases, which was a painting of the sunflowers by Vincent van Gogh. There are a couple of references to Van Gogh throughout the book, like references to the stars in the sky, and so obvious reference to Starry Night, references to Van Gogh cutting off his ear and why he did that, and even to Dora's act of rebelliousness. So she wins this painting in the first chapter. She wins this auction, and she has a choice of taking a bottle of whiskey or this painting, and her husband wants her to take the whiskey, and she, in an act of rebelliousness, takes the painting, and she equates it to Van Gogh chopping off his ear, which I thought was pretty cool, pretty interesting analogy. The writing is so good, and the way that she builds up the narrative, builds up the story, and then gives you a reveal and then another reveal is pretty great. Like she's definitely done a really great job at crafting the introduction to this, the characterization of Ellis and his father and his mother and Michael and the other characters. Even Annie, his wife, is phenomenal, and it's great because it it has that opening scene with her winning the painting, and then it switches to later. So that's in 1950, and then it switches to 1996, And you have a photograph. So this idea of a painting and then the idea of a photograph, so different time eras of three people, Michael, Annie, and Ellis. Then we start to learn about how they come to be in the photograph together. And of course, we're wondering about their relationships and the dynamics already. And that's what draws you in. So yeah, it goes back and forth a little bit in the timeline. I did find that slightly confusing. She, I think, tries to keep us tied in by sometimes referring to dates and sometimes referring to different things in different eras that would make you think of a different time frame. And also Ellis in present day has, it just has had a bicycling accident, I think. So him being injured or him being hurt, going back and forth, is supposed to help us with the timeline. But I did get a little bit confused about what time we were in the beginning of the book. But it is about the story between Ellis and Michael, who are friends, and they have a very tender friendship. It starts out when they're 12 years old, and Michael has lost his mother, and I think he's lost his mother, and he has a very close relationship with Ellis's mother. I don't think I'm giving too much away because I'm only 64 pages in, but Ellis's mother does die, and so he's very affected by that, and it kind of brings him and Michael closer together out of his grief and his despair over the loss of his mom. But we do know that he and Annie get married. So we know that there's a marriage and that Michael's in the picture in terms of the friendships, but we don't really know how it all is, how it's all going to transpire, I guess. So it's a wonderful book. It's a very beautiful book. There's one scene when they're little kids where they're on a toboggan and they're sliding down the hill, and it's really well written, and it's hilarious because my daughter wrote in the margin. Oh my God, it just made me laugh so much. She's hilarious. She'll write like, "Oh, twist. Oh, still trying to get over the last twist." Like, she's really funny in what she writes in the margins. But I'll just read you this little passage and then I'll tell you what she wrote in the margins. So this is the two of them on this sled ride. Ellis sat at the front and gripped the rope hard, his feet resting on the runners. He felt Michael clamber on behind him, felt his hands reach around his waist. "Ready?" he said. "Ready," Michael said. And they nudged the toboggan forward until it pulled away over the side, and they were thrown back by gathering speed and unexpected troughs hidden beneath the drifts. He could feel Michael tight around his waist, his scream in his ear as they bounced down the hill, trees an indecipherable blur racing past those coming up, and then all of a sudden there was no traction. There was only air and flight and them, and they were peeled away from one another and from rope and wood, and they felt earth, winded and dazed, tumbling in a flurry of snow and sky and laughter, and they only slowed when the land flattened out, when it brought them back together again and held them still. And my daughter's comment, it was a beautiful passage, but my daughter's comment, she's like, I don't know if you can read it, but she wrote, "Ugh, oh my God, stop, I get it, you can beat me in a fight." And that's her way of saying, you can beat me as a writer, you can beat me in any literary fight, because she aspires to be a writer. And I was talking to her about it today, and it's so cute because she's like, well, I have a list of writers who I think can beat me in a fight. She's like, it's getting longer every day. And I just thought that was so sweet. So I'm really having a great time doing this vlog and reading those books. And I think I'll probably be finished mapping the interior tomorrow and maybe starting the play once I finish mapping the interior. As I said, I think maybe we'll try to go back to the McGill Campus and to the Dawson Campus, and then that'll be the vlog. So hopefully you're enjoying it, and I will see you tomorrow. Okay. Guys, I did not know The Tin Man was a book about AIDS. How come nobody told me? I asked my daughter, she's like, well, I didn't want to ruin anything. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. And I'm so dumb. I should have realized because, okay, so I should have realized November 1989 is where we get to. I mean, it does go back and forth. So the first half of the story is from Ellis's perspective, and the second half of the story is from Michael's perspective, and there's this mystery of, because we know that Ellis gets married to Annie, and we know that Michael was in their lives, and then at one point, Ellis and Michael's, like, how does that happen? How does he... Okay, so I have 30 pages left of Tin Man, and I didn't realize this, but this is actually a book about AIDS, and I probably should have realized it because it is set at the end of 1989 in the 90s, and it is about two men in a gay relationship, or actually, well, kind of. Actually, Ellis is married to Annie, and he and Michael met when they were kids. I have 30 pages left of the book, and I kind of don't want it to end, so I'll just tell you where I'm at right now as kind of a wrap up. And Michael ends up moving to London, and they don't really speak after that. And then it's really hard to talk about this book without giving too much away, so I guess maybe some spoilers ahead if you want to skip this part. So the first half of the book is told from Ellis's point of view, and then in the second half of the book, what has happened is he's found a box in his mom's house, or in Mabel's house, in the house where Michael used to live, that contains Michael's things, and it includes his diaries. So he's found Michael's old diary, and he's reading about Michael's life after this tragedy. Obviously, I'm gonna have to give it away. Michael dies. So, but I won't tell you how or what the circumstances are. It's super sad. We get the rest of his life story through his diaries as Ellis is reading his diaries. And it's through reading his diaries that Ellis learns that Michael, well, it's at the time of his death that Ellis learns that Michael had AIDS. And then it's through his diaries that he learns about his relationships over the 10 years that they were separated. It's very moving. It's very, there's something about her writing that's very, aside from being very well crafted, it's very warm. And I don't know, there's just so many things to love about this book. I've marked so many spots. There's so many parts that make you feel sad, so many passages that make you feel sad, and so many passages that also just make you feel warm and fuzzy all over. If that makes any sense. I don't know. I want to make this meaningful. Here's a little passage about a conversation that he has with Annie about his relationship with Ellis, which Annie knows was more than a friendship. She became quiet and thoughtful. She told me that she'd once asked Ellis if we'd ever kissed. She said he looked at her, trying to fathom out what she wanted him to say. After a while, he said, "We might have once, but we were young." She told me she thought it quite a trite answer, because she always knew it was more than that, more than youth. She just wanted to know, she said, to be part of us. There's something about first love, isn't there? She said. It's untouchable to those who played no part in it, but it's the measure of all that follows, she said. I couldn't look at her. I mean, yeah, it's just, so good. And then I'll just read you another part from Michael's diary about his experience just about the way that she portrays AIDS and the situation with AIDS, because I think it's very compassionately and thoughtfully done. So this is the beginning of his diary entry for November 1989, Michael's diary entry. And he says, I don't know the day. The days have become irrelevant. G's sight has failed, and I've become his eyes. When he howls in the night, I don't let go of him. The virus has entered his brain. Yesterday he laughed when he pissed against the bedroom door. A doctor suggested I write to make sense of the world around me. There is no sense, I said abruptly. Witnessing the agony of others, he continued, the bewilderment of others. Oh my goodness. Witnessing the agony of others, he continued, the bewilderment of others. What do you think this has done to you? I took my time with this absurd question. It's not so fun anymore, I said. Like, I don't know. She's a really good writer. Maybe I'm over emotional, but this book just like kept hitting me like that. And actually, it's weird. Can I just say that reading that out loud is so much harder than just reading it to yourself? I don't know. It just makes it even more real. The words more real. Oh my God, I'm such a sap. Okay, so there's so many other passages, and maybe I'll read you a couple more like when I finish the book, when I can get my head together about it. But I didn't realize it was a book about AIDS, and God, it's such a good book. It's so well written. So yeah, okay, I'll stop gushing about that. I hope I'm giving you a sense of the book. This is what reading blogs are like, right? You're with someone as they experience the thing. I did finish mapping the interior, and it's so good. The ending is so good. After he finds the gun, things do get a little bit more strange in a certain way, but they also, I cannot tell you what happens because things do happen in the plot that I do not want to reveal to you. It really becomes this narrative about this boy trying to find himself and how he changes over time. So it's kind of a coming of age story. It's about a fatherless boy. It's about a Native American boy trying to figure out who he is and what his role is in particular in his family. But it's set up like a horror story, and it's a little bit of slipstream consciousness I was explaining. But just in terms of the coming of age, like this is a really cool passage. He said, like, his name is Junior, and he makes this comment. He's having this dream, or this dreamlike state. He's in a dreamlike state, and he sees his father, and his father looks up, and he even says his name, Junior. And then he said it 3 more times, softer and softer, Junior, Junior, Junior. Every 4th person on our reservation, that's their name. Like the same stupid person is trying life after life until he gets it right at last. That was like really hit hard. And then a little bit later in the same section, he writes, right now, the 4-year-old me was 20 miles south dying from pneumonia, maybe from how cold it was, where this me was standing right now. There are no rules. And then he says, there are rules, I know. Not knowing them doesn't mean they don't apply to you. I mean, this book is, again, blows my mind because it's just so good at communicating this idea of, like that one phrase, there are rules, I don't know how it doesn't matter if you don't understand them or you don't know how they apply, they're still going to affect you. It's just such a good book in such a short little novella to explore those themes of identity, and I guess just living in a world that's not a world that you fit into, which is like just a really trite way of saying what he's trying to express here. It's not easy to put into words how well Stephen Graham Jones has expressed the Indian experience or the Native American experience, and in particular from one generation to the next. Yeah, I think the thing about this story is the cultural context. They have been moved off the reservation, so he's lost that connection, not only like because he lost his father, but he's lost that connection with his roots and with his heritage. He even talks about when his mom dies that he thinks she would have lived longer. Like he says, what finally killed Mom, it wasn't her lungs, it was just being 63 years old and nearly a whole state away from all the girls she was in 1st and 2nd grade with. If she'd had someone to talk with about the old days, I think she'd have maybe made it a few more years. There's a very profound loss that he's exploring here. Not just the loss of his father, it's like this loss, this cultural loss as well, at least from my reading of it. And it's just like every generation over and over and over again is a product of the generation that came before them and the oppression that the generation that came before them experienced. And so there's no disconnect. It's a thread, it's a line. So in that way, he's just really effectively exploring intergenerational trauma and intergenerational oppression, and just very more specific comments on the commercialization of the Native American experience, the stereotypes and the prejudices against American Indians as well. So there's a lot to think about, and plus it's just a really well written, very good story. My daughter's courses are pretty good, hey? Like, I guess the teachers are picking some pretty good stuff. I'm gonna start reading Pygmalion today. I will say that I was gonna go back to the McGill campus to check out the Burke's Library and then maybe go to the Dawson campus. This vlog is getting a little bit long. I started editing it and it does seem a little long to me. But when I woke up this morning, the air was so thick with smoke and it's so hazy outside. It's quite dystopian. It's freaking me out a little bit. And I did get something in the mail, so I will just quickly open my book mail with you. So this book is a book that I've been meaning to read for quite some time. Lakewood by Megha Giddings. It's another horror story, and I think it's about experimentation on Black woman. It's about the town of Lakewood, Michigan. Okay, so it says on the back, when Lena Johnson's beloved grandmother dies and the full extent of the family debt is revealed, the Black millennial drops out of college and takes a job in the mysterious and remote town of Lakewood, Michigan. On paper, her new job is too good to be true. All Lena has to do is participate in a research program. That I'm not reading anymore. So yeah, you could see how this would be pretty dark, and I've just heard really good things about it, so I had to buy it. I have a problem. We all know we have a problem. So yeah, I'm hoping maybe I'm going to put this on my TBR because as I was saying in my mid-year wrap-up, I really just want to shift from the serious stuff to, I mean, this sounds pretty damn serious, but I kind of want to shift into some horror and some funny books or something because it's been an intense reading year so far. I don't know if I'm going to end up being outside a lot today because of the bad haze. So it might be tomorrow that we go to the library, and yeah, it's going to be a long vlog, so.
Hello everybody, it's me. It's the next day. I finished Tin Man. Loved, and I just went on and on about it in my mid-year freakout tag. So you can check that out. And I started reading Pygmalion. And gosh, I'm really enjoying it. I'm only sort of at the beginning of Act 2, but I will say that Shaw has written his play in a way that's very readable. So I know it's meant to be staged, but it's also written with so much description that it's great to also read. It almost reads like a story or a novella or something. There's so much instruction about the characters and their characterization. I'm loving it. We've been introduced to Eliza, the flower girl, and her terrible spoken, broken accent of English, and the note taker who becomes Henry Higgins, who brags to everybody that he can turn her into a duchess and that she could be presented in high society. So already Eliza has tons of gumption and it's great. I'm really, really enjoying it. So I'm going to carry on reading that book. I brought it with me. I'm probably going to read it on the metro. We're going to go to Dawson today. Dawson College is the college where my daughter went to school. So Dawson College, I think Dawson's pretty big. It's downtown. Its campus is downtown in Montreal, and it is the most popular English language cégep or college here. Kids here have to go at age 17 and 18 to cégep. So it's like 2 years of college. And I switch arms. And they have about 11,000 students at Dawson. So it's a pretty big campus. It's an old campus. I can't tell you when Dawson College opened, but almost all of the cégeps, and in particular the English cégeps, I think they all opened sometime in the 70s. Yeah, we're gonna go check out the library there. The only other thing I can tell you about Dawson is kind of a sad story. There was a shooting there in 2016, and one student was killed, Anastasia D'Souza. She was only 18 years old. Super sad. And it was very tragic, and it was very upsetting to Montrealers, to the Montreal cégep community. It was scary. It was really scary. I had a friend texting me, asking me, are you okay? I heard about the shooting. It was pretty upsetting. But other than that, I think Dawson's a pretty great school. As I said, my daughter was there in a literature profile program. She really enjoyed it, and it's these literature profile courses that had these books assigned that I'm now reading for the vlog. So it all is going to come full circle. It's all going to get tied together. So yeah, let's go to Dawson and I'll fill you in once we're there. We're here at Dawson, and the good news is we're here. It's super echoey in this hallway. The bad news is that the weather is looking kind of crazy outside. It looks like it's going to be a thunderstorm, and I did not bring an umbrella. So let's go inside and find the library where we can hang out for a bit and hide from the rain.
They see you for you, but they don't see what I see. Personality, oh well. You think the world is yours. You think it's been.
I will say, I'm not a super fan of this campus. Like, not the most beautiful campus in the world. It's basically a downtown campus with 5 floors and escalators. But I have heard that the library is quite nice. So I'm going to show you a little less of the campus. I mean, those lockers were fun. It definitely has like a high school vibe. But we're going to go up to the library, which like I said, I heard is quite pretty. Hopefully I can film in there. We'll see. I'll have to do it incognito if they don't. If they say something to me. I'll try. Yes. One more floor up. It's really nice of them to let me take some footage in here, but I'm going to go sit down and read a little bit, and then I'll give you an update. I hope you can hear me. Okay, so the sun is out, so I'm going to take you guys outside to the main entrance. Because the main entrance of the college is actually very beautiful, and I'll update you out there because I'm feeling a little awkward while the students around. I don't want to get anybody's face on film and then have to blur it out. So let's go outside. Thank you. Okay, so no thunderstorm after all. Thank goodness, I guess you could say. So for those of you who watched my vlog last time, I think it was last year around this time, this is where there was a protest against Bill 96, and this is where we all gathered right out here in front of Dawson. So I'll leave a link to that vlog below if you're interested. can't remember the books that I read for that one. So yeah, this is the entrance to the college. It's, I don't know if I can show you. Yeah, so that's the main entrance to the college, and there's gates in front, and there's a really nice outdoor space around the college, which is really great. So I'm really enjoying Pygmalion so much. It's so good. I think I've forgotten a lot of the story, and as I said on our way here, the characterization is so good. And what's really interesting about Shaw in this particular play, and I haven't read a lot of Shaw's plays, actually this is the first play that I'm reading. I haven't read any Shaw plays, and it's so interesting the way he sets it up with Eliza, because she comes, I don't think I realized this, and I'm not sure if it's shown this way in the film or not. I realized I'm going to have to watch the movie after reading the play again with Audrey Hepburn. But Eliza comes to Mr. Higgins because she wants to improve her spoken English so that she can go from being a girl who sells flowers in the street to being a girl who sells flowers in the corner flower shop. And she's been told that she has to improve her English in order to be able to do that. So she comes to him with her own money, asking if he can help her improve her English. And it's at that point that he says, oh, stay with me for 6 months and you'll not have to work at the flower shop, you'll be, and he kind of taunts her or tempts her with jewels and Buckingham Palace and riches and marrying a major in the military and all these things. And she's very like, I know that's not what I want, that's not why I'm here, why are you making me do this kind of thing. And it's really interesting already, this dynamic and what Shaw is saying about this idea. There's so much commentary already going on about people who are of a higher class in society, who look down on lower classes in society and believe that they can have some kind of right to improve their lives. And there's a lot of superiority in this character, Higgins. And there's an ethical question already being presented. She has her own, yes, she's an orphaned girl, yes, she's poor, but she has her own idea of how she wants to improve her life. And that's what she has her own, like she possesses, it's like almost like who owns her, who possesses her, who has the right to decide for her. Anyway, I know I'm rambling on a little bit. She totally doesn't trust Higgins. She's like, why should I trust you? And he offers her chocolate and she's like, why should I eat this? It's probably poison. And he cuts it in half and he takes a half and he tells her she could have chocolate every day. And then there's this really funny scene with the housekeeper, I think it's Mrs. Pickering or Mrs. Pearson. No, sorry, Pickering is the other character. It's Mrs. Pearson, and she's kind of trying to look out for her, and there's this really funny scene where, because Eliza's never had a bath before, don't you change out of your clothes to sleep at night? And she says, oh no, I don't do that. Why would I do that? And be freezing in my bed. And then she has her change into night clothes, and she says, oh, well, we'll put a hot water bottle in your bed, and you'll be warm at night. And Eliza's just like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? And it's just this commentary on she has her own agency, right? And so he's taking away her agency. And I think that that's just a really, obviously that's the main point of the play, but it's already coming into the story very early on, and I'm loving the way it's being presented. So, and then this commentary about you have to get undressed, wear less clothing, and then put a hot water bottle in the bed to keep warm, these kind of problems that the wealthy make for themselves, and then the solutions that they make for themselves that are totally ridiculous, where it's, why not just go to bed with all your clothes on every day? It's just interesting and funny and entertaining. It's really well written. I've been laughing over and over and over again at the different lines in the play and loving it so much. So the play, actually, I was looking at the play, and oh, it's Mrs. Pierce. Sorry, it's Mrs. Pierce. So even Mrs. Pierce says, so yeah, so they're talking about, he's trying to convince her to stay, and he says, Mrs. Pierce says, but what's to become of her? Is she to be paid anything? Do be sensible, sir. So she wants to know if Eliza's going to be paid for this 6 months, and if she should be able to not consent if she doesn't want to consent. His retort is, well, what's to become of her if I leave her in the gutter? Tell me that, Mrs. Pierce. And then Mrs. Pierce says, "That's her own business, not yours, Mr. Higgins." And Higgins retorts, "Well, then I've done with her. We can throw her back into the gutter, and then it will be her own business again, so that's all right." And then Liza gets upset because she came to him for these English lessons, and she's really hurt, and he's being a bully to her. I don't know, it's already really good. It's so good. It's so good. I'm so glad I'm reading this. I'm ending the reading vlog here. Thank you so much for watching. I'm really excited to finish this and wrap it up for you. The last thing I wanted to say about it is that my daughter was warning me that the action of the play ends, and then there's a whole section, and the beginning of the section, Shaw wrote, "The rest of the story need not be shown in action, and indeed would hardly need telling if our imaginations were not so enfeebled by their lazy dependence on the ready-mades and reach-me-downs of the rag shop, in which romance keeps its stock of happy endings to misfit all stories." So he writes an ending to the story that doesn't get acted out, that leaves it, I guess, open to interpretation to whomever wants to stage the play, which I think is really cool, and I'm really curious to read what his ending was. So it's just something I wanted to point out, and I will tell you about that when I do my wrap-up. If you haven't picked up any George Bernard Shaw, I think it's probably worth it. I mean, I guess he has this great reputation for a reason, and I trust my dad's judgment, so it's not going to be the first, or it'll be the first, but it won't be the last play that I read by GBS. So thanks everyone so much for watching this vlog. I've had so much fun, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye! I chose the 5th floor because I have no idea if we're allowed all the way up to the 6th floor. Like, I had a moment of, I don't know if I'm allowed. Let's see what happens.
Should have made this a group read. Okay, so we're gonna go with Dino. What the fuck? Where was I? I have no idea. I can't swear. Okay. It does say. Oh, we're having a couch issue. Look, I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get into that. Every day there's a new thing in life, isn't there?